Local evening paper last week, and I'll quote from it. "I must reply," said the writer, "to your front-page report headlined 'The Acid Houses of Death.'" It's a better letter even than the headline. It says, "Your report speaks of illegal dance parties being a fire risk because exits are often barricaded in case of police raids. This means that if there were no police raids, the emergency exits would not be barricaded. Maybe the fire brigade should communicate with the police on this one. The police seem to be causing the fire risk." I like that. I think it's called logic. The letter goes on to suggest legalising all-night dance parties, other people have parties, or allowing dance clubs to stay open till 6. And it concludes, quote, "A cult that makes people do exercise beyond the wildest dreams of any aerobics teacher and which discourages people from drinking alcohol should be applauded."
Open up your mind. Come on, take a ride. Meet you on the other side. The other side of midnight.
Good evening. Tonight, mute recording artist A.C. Marias, accompanied by Bruce Gilbert and a pole. I'm only reading this. That's the musical content, but mostly tonight's the book show. If you don't like books, turn off. We don't care. Graham Swift is here tonight, recently described his new novel by the New York Review of Books as deserving to be ranked in the forefront of contemporary literature. So we're getting there, and he got some good reviews. Also, a gentleman called Dirk Nischen, a German publisher of photographs. A celebration of St. Patrick's Day, which is W.B. Yeats' worst poem, set to an ingenious piece of animation from the city of Dublin. And the big question tonight, who is Ben Elton?
All right, well, I'm 29. I was born in Catford in southeast London and at Lewisham Hospital. At the time, my mother had just stopped teaching in order to bring up us 4 kids, teaching English, and my dad was a lecturer and of physics, and that's how we started. That was the first question.
Thank you very much. The last detail of that, though, is someone thought that maybe you were hiding the fact that you went to public school.
No, I didn't go to public school.
You didn't go to public
If I did go to public school, Tony, believe me, you wouldn't be the first to know.
The one thing Ben missed out there is that he is in love with Melvin. Elvison's Mr. Bragg did a nice job on him, gave him good interview. Our Ben is besotted, and you thought he was a stand-up cynic. We'll have the Green debate with Ben in part 2. But now some books again. Photographic books. Dirk Nischen is a publisher. He comes from Berlin. He publishes high-quality, low-price photographs. His new life, which I have somewhere, is £3.50. It's a best-selling novelist, stark. It is, though, 453 pages long, and it's excellent. I haven't read it, I just read the reviews. It's a comic epic deep in Western Australia. I'm sure you know about it. It's an eco-conspiracy. Ecology, the week's colour. Green.
It's an eco-thriller. It's a comedy based on green things, although much else is in the book. I don't believe in single-issue novels, good Lord, not with 450 pages to fill anyway. Yeah, I mean, the spine of it is, as I hope you know, because before you were saying that you had seen some of my routines, and you know, I hope it's clear that I base my comedy on things that concern me. They don't have to be terribly serious things. It could be, you know, the gunk in the bottom of your fridge or whatever, but, you know, things that matter, things that are true.
But your rage at its best is that of a radical. I always think green and eco things are a bit liberal.
Well, as long as, well, I mean, you can be a very radical liberal. Dear, dear. I'm sure old Lloyd George in the Valleys considered himself a radical once upon a long time ago. You make a big mistake, Tony, if you think that green is some kind of fashion thing, if it's kind of like the size of your trousers or the size of your lapels. The ecological situation is very different from anything party political or indeed anything in terms of like what was big in the late 80s. Having done my research and been a member of Greenpeace for some considerable time, I know that we genuinely face a world crisis. I mean, it's not necessarily the case that the human race will cease to exist, but certainly our world is about to change in very, very real terms. And when it happens, people are no longer going to be talking about real ale and chunky sweaters being the premise of green politicians. I am, I believe, a radical. I'm quite a passionate person. I don't wear flared trousers, and I know how to take the piss out of a hippie, much as I love quite a few of them. And I'm green as they come. I'm green as a rotten turnip in the bottom of your fridge.
So that's it then, ecology, Mrs. Thatcher and Ben Elton together at this moment in history.
No, that, Tony, and you know that. This is, I think, one of the worst, I think possibly one of the slimiest things that extraordinary woman has done is to suddenly attempt to appropriate the few votes she sees in Green.
Isn't that democracy? There are votes in it. If she's a good politician, she will do what she needs to get the vote so that the people get green revolution.
No, but they won't get green revolution. This is why yes, democracy. She's said her words. You, thank goodness, because you think I'm vaguely a celebrity, have offered, you know, bunged a camera in front of me, and I'm saying my little bit to redress the balance. Mrs. Thatcher has known of the ecological Armageddon we faced for many years. She's a chemist. She may have spent her time making soft ice cream, but she is nonetheless a chemist, and she must know these things. Now, why is it, Tony, I ask you, why is it that on a German motorway, only one pump at the stations has leaded petrol and all the other ones are unleaded? And on English motorways, you're lucky if you get one. It's to do with the fact that Mrs. Thatcher basically worships the free market economy.
And he went on, and he was on absolutely top form, Ben. Ben Elton, his visit to the Big G Granada here in Manchester was not by the way of voyage into the unknown. In the early 80s, Mr. Elton and a group of his chums made their TV debuts in these very studios.
There is a type of man, a man's man, a real good old boy, one of the lads, who is born to be a prat.
It was a wonderful time, and I feel I must ring the producer because I talk about it a lot to, I don't want to keep mentioning it, but I feel awful because this South Bank show did a retrospective and we didn't mention al fresco, but we did, but it had to be edited because of time, etc., because I talk too much.
You were bragged. You were bragged, were you?
I was bragged in a lovely way. I think he was super and very understanding.
He is a lovely man.
He's a lovely man. But, you know, some things have to go. Al fresco was an extraordinary time. For those of you, I'm sure almost all, who have no idea what it was, because it passed virtually without trace, except for Granada's bank manager, who said, what the hell has been going on, was a sketch show which we made in 1982 and 1983. And its main claim to fame is that the cast was quite an interesting one.
How many did we have last night then, lads? 8? 9? And the rest.
An intensely annoying,
Now, Wally will tell you that I never hit a bloke unless he's out of order.
utterly contemptible.
Pink tie, Wally. Backs to the wall, lads. Wally's on the turn. Iffy, iffy.
Human disease. This man is a Wally.
Why then didn't we here at Granada get that out there? Was there something not quite right? Had you not developed?
We were, oh, definitely. Too young. We were fantastically privileged to be paid so well to make one's mistakes. I mean, I think probably the luckiest break for me and the unluckiest break for Granada was that they got interested in me at the age of 22. I tried to write almost an entire sketch show. I suppose I wrote 80% of al fresco. And that, I mean, Shakespeare couldn't write an entire sketch show. It's not possible.
Hello, Wally. Here.
Wally, where's Wally?
I'll show you.
What?
Have any of you boys got the time?
If you've got the energy, Mrs. W.
Now, how you lads think these things up?
Emma, and Robbie Coltrane was also involved there. That was 81. 89, by Stark.